The goal here in concept is really quite simple. We want to be able to generate an image in Midjourney. Let's say for the sake of this, a landscape. We want to then take that landscape image that Midjourney generated and we want to plug it into Stable Diffusion. More specifically, Stable Diffusion with a DepthMap extension installed. That's going to generate something like this. Now this may look quite rudimentary or simple, but if we take this DepthMap along with our original image and plug it into Blender, we can get something like this, which takes that and with a little bit of tweaking will turn it into a three-dimensional plane. You can do this with a plethora of things and then actually animate it. If we hit play, you'll see this black box, which is the camera icon we have rigged to flow through our scene. If we click into our camera here, we can actually see what it's doing. This little box here will be our final animation. Now we're going to walk step by step through all of this. If you've never used Blender, you've never used Stable Diffusion DepthMap, it's no problem at all. This is going to be for absolute beginners, and by the end of this, you will have an animation of a 3D plane. For the sake of this tutorial and the fact that we're going to go through this together step by step, I've generated a new landscape. Here's my original, very simple prompt in V5.1 on Midjourney. This was my favorite, and I would love to have the camera actually flow through this valley over top of all of this and in between the hills, so I think we're going to go with this as well. Here we are on Automatic 1111. This is the local web UI for running Stable Diffusion. If you don't even have A1111 installed, then go ahead and click on this card at the top of the video. You're going to get to this point in about a minute and a half or 2 minutes, and then you can come right back. What we need to do here is actually get this right here, which is the depth extension. In order to do this, go ahead and go down to what is labeled as link 1 in the description down below. Then go ahead and navigate to the extensions tab and click on install from URL. You're going to paste that URL right up here, and I'll go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead, you're going to paste it right here and you're going to leave these other two completely blank. Now go ahead and click install. Only click it once, don't worry, it is performing a function, even though annoyingly so, there's no order completion check. It doesn't let you know that it registered a click. If it worked, go ahead and go to the installed tab. This will be kind of grayed out and you'll have a little loading icon here and a % right up here on the right. Once that's done, go ahead and click check for updates and then apply and restart UI. You may have to restart your entire A1111 terminal, but nonetheless, you'll get back here and you'll now have the depth extension. Go ahead and grab your Midjourney generation. You can do that just by opening it, right-clicking, and saving. We're going to go ahead and then drop this in right here. We're going to drop this into the single image in depth. Now the model is up to you. I prefer either to use Res 101 or Midas. Midas and Res 101 are both just enough for the job. We'll go ahead and leave that as the default. One thing cool we can do is show the heat map if we'd like to, and there's some other options down here, but don't worry about these for our needs. We're just going to leave these blank. Make sure you show the depth map, and if you want, you can save the depth map as well. We're going to leave these blank, and we're going to have boost on, as this is just going to give us a better resolution. Now, depending on your GPU, you can also choose to process this with your CPU power if you have something, say, less than a 2080. That will definitely be relying more on the CPU when you go lower end. So all we have to do is load that in there, and then we'll go ahead and just click generate. You'll see a little loading bar right here, which is very deceptive because this will not be done loading. When the bar is done, it'll be done loading, well, when it's done loading. So we'll be right back. This will probably take right around 2 to 3 minutes. Alright, just like that, we have our depth map. You can also see that we have a heat map. I just wanted to show that that was a possibility, and so you could see the difference. But let's go ahead and click on, open this depth map, and click Save Image As. I'm gonna go ahead and save this as DepthMap 3. You can actually see a little character in my file up here, as I'm also working on 3D character modeling, so if that's gonna be something you're interested in seeing, like this video and subscribe. There was my generic pitch, but you're gonna get something for it. Now let's go ahead and open up Blender. That will be link 2 in the description down below. This is completely free to use. When you open it, your window's going to look a little bit different with the first time, but go ahead and it's just going to prompt you to create a new file, and we're just going to click on General, and it'll bring you to this page right here. First thing we want to do is get this cube out of the way. We're just going to left click it and hit Delete. Now we're going to hold Shift and press A. It's going to bring up this little menu right here. If you're completely unfamiliar with or have never used Blender, don't worry, we're going to walk you through every step. We're going to hover over Mesh and click on Plane. This is going to create this flat little plane surface. If you're wondering how I'm moving this around, I'm simply clicking down the center scroll wheel on my mouse. If we want to move up and down, we have this little hand where we can move up and down, left to right along our plane as well. Those are going to be the two main functions that I'm using, other than Control plus to zoom in and Control minus to zoom out. Now that we have our plane, we want to do something called subdividing. So let's go ahead and click on it, and then on the top you'll see that this has a modeling section. Go ahead and click on modeling. Something you'll notice that you may have missed if not mentioned, right here this just changed from object mode to edit mode. We're going to talk about this more in a moment, but just make note that we are now in edit mode. We're going to take our surface and right click on the plane and then left click on subdivide. Now you may miss it, but this is going to open a little menu down in the left called subdivide. There's a lot in here, but all we want to do is change the number of cuts to 100. You'll notice that your surface becomes a little bit orange, and if you click off, it becomes black. That's because we just subdivided this entire plane into 100 by 100 individual cubes. Think of these cubes, or the points connecting them, as really the vectors of where our 3D is going to pop out, or how it's going to define the points and edges so we can make it 3D. From here, we want to get out of edit mode. Now there's some shortcuts, but let's go ahead and just go to the top left and click from edit mode to object mode. You'll notice that our cuts go away. They're still there, they're just not crowding our screen, to say. From here, we want to go ahead and add a modifier. This will be in the little wrench icon right here that you see I'm hovering around. It should be here by default, but if not, we're in the wrench. Go ahead and click on the add modifier. There's a lot to take in here, but all you need to know for this is we need a displacer. This displacer modifier is going to tell our cuts that we want to displace this plane based on a certain texture. So, or not texture, but displacement image, which is going to be our depth map. Go ahead and click on new. Now, it didn't seem to do anything, but you'll notice now it has brought up texture. We're going to go down to this little checker or chessboard here, which will be our texture properties on the right side of the screen. Go ahead and click on that, and it's going to bring up this black image. From here, we're going to actually open our depth map, which I believe was named DepthMap 3. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Downloads, and we will look for DepthMap 3.png, and we will open image. Now you can see we have a little bit of a valley going on. Now let's get this less rigid looking. Let's go ahead and click on it. You'll notice on the top right here we have camera, light, and plane. You can either click on the object or click on the container up here. In this case we're going to left click on the plane and then right click, and we're going to shade smooth. You'll notice that this just made our plane a little bit more smooth, a little bit more easy on the eye. From here, we actually want our image, or all of the coloring in our image, this right here, to be portrayed onto right here. Now, what we're going to do is go up to the shading tab. Go ahead and click on that, and it should bring you to a window like this. From here, you're going to click the new button, and it'll give you these two containers. We're going to click off of those, hold shift and press A, go down to texture, and then up to Image Texture. Go ahead and drop this box right to the left of the original green one, and then go ahead and click on Open. Now when we open it, we want to actually grab our original saved image. So for me, that is going to be in Downloads, and then that is the overhead view. So we will go right to here, overhead view, and open image. Now where it says color, we're going to connect the yellow dot to the yellow dot, like so, and we will then have our texture. So let's go ahead and zoom in, and we can now see our image starting to come a little bit more to life. From here, let's go ahead and go back to layout, and on the top right, we actually want to see our image with all of the coloring. So let's go ahead and Control plus, we will zoom in a little bit, and on the top right, we're going to click the furthest right bubble. That will be viewpoint shading, which will let us view our image, or our 3D render rather, with it completely shaded. Now, as initially stated, we want this to be like going through a valley. Right now, we do have a bit of 3D texture in there, but we want to extend this out towards the viewer. So on the right side, we're going to click on that little wrench again, and this will actually bring us to the settings for the plane itself. Remember, this is texture and image generated onto that blank plane. So whenever we want to manipulate this mountain range, we want to manipulate the plane itself, which is going to be in this little wrench icon. What we're going to focus on is the strength, and I'm going to take this 1 up to about a 2, and you can see what happens as I do that. We start to elongate. Now from this view, it looks pretty messed up, but from here, going through it, and once we set our camera, we will be able to see it a bit better and a bit more the way we want. From here, we actually want to set up our camera so it goes through our scene. Go ahead and click on the video camera icon or the toggle camera view, and it'll take you to a view that probably initially will look like this right here. Now we're just using our center mouse wheel to position this, and Control plus to zoom in. One setting that you do want to make sure is on is your camera to view lock. On the right side, you'll have a little view, tool, and item menu. If you don't, there may be an arrow there which will pop this window out to the left for you. Inside of the view tab, you just want to make sure that this box right here is checked where it says camera to view. This will lock your camera to your view, so wherever you go is going to be what your camera is depicting in your animation. Go ahead and get it positioned where you'd like. As we wanted to go down through the valley, we're going to go ahead and position it right here and send it down through that way. So let's go ahead and get it right there. Now, one thing that you do want to make sure is on the right side, you have camera selected versus plane, and we're going to set our first frame. So press I, and then click on location, rotation, and scale. This will have dropped a small diamond in the very bottom of your screen on the frame by frame playback. Now let's go ahead and set our second frame. Alright, now you should actually be able to see this frame bar down here. So I would like to change it at the halfway point. As you can see, we have 250 frames. We can extend that or start it from somewhere different with these right here. We can have as many frames as we want, just know rendering is going to take a lot longer. So let's go to the 100 point, and then let's go ahead and send our camera a little ways down the frame. Let's go ahead and go here and then go up like this, and we will press I, location, rotation, and scale. Now let's go ahead and go to 190 frames. We will Control plus even more, looking up, say this way, and down into the mountains still. And let's move it over just a tad bit, and then we will again press I, location, rotation, and scale, and let's go to our final endpoint at the very, very back of our valley, and set it to the 250th. Alright, we'll go back in right now, and we will go ahead and for the final time press I, and then location, rotation, and scale. This has set all of our frames, so now if we play it, we can see that it comes in and swoops through our valley very, very nicely. Now we can go ahead and get our initial render, or the video that we're going to download for whatever our use is. On the right side, above the wrench, well above the wrench, we have render properties. On this, all you're going to change is bloom. Go ahead and tick that, and motion blur. Leave those two ticked and go one down to output properties. The only thing you need to worry about here is this file format. As you can see right now, it is going in PNG. We're going to click that and put it in FFmpeg video, just the best output for our use, or for a video use case rather. Now on the top left, and I will go ahead and reposition my display capture here so you can better see that. On the top left I will have a render tab, or well, you will have a render tab. Go ahead and click on that drop down, and we're going to click on render animation. This is going to start the rendering process. Don't worry if the screen looks blank, you're going to see some flashing here. It is rendering each frame into our animation. And if we go back to it, we can actually see that happening in real time. Let's go ahead and let this render, and then we'll talk about how to actually download it. Alright, now that our render is done, we can go ahead and check it out, see if it's what we like, and see if we need to position the camera any differently. Go ahead to the top left and click on the render dropdown again, and then click on view animation. This will pop up our new animation. Of course, we'll have to position the camera to take out the gray sides there, but we have our fully rendered animation. Go ahead and back out of this, and if you want to download it, you can do so from here as well. Or rather, it will already be rendered and downloaded. We can just re-render any changes we make from there. You can find this by opening your files. Now I use OSC for it, but it will make this file called TMP. If you open that file, we can find our render right here. For now, what we can create is limited to what people have tried. That's why on this channel, I'm going to be diving extremely deep into this, as I think we can create some really cool things. So, for starters, leave me a comment. Let me know if this is helpful to you and if you'd like to see more videos like it. And if you would, don't worry, they're coming, including character creation in 3D and animation once we get access to things like Runway Gen 2, which is coming very, very soon. If you want to learn more about AI tools, check out one of the two or both of the tutorials on your screen now. Don't forget to like the video for the algorithm and subscribe.